Hey everyone, this is the hour and 15 minutes that at an open door that we've entitled Sharing the Word. And at the moment we're working with Resurrection by Paul Selig, and we're going to begin with a clip. This is from an intensive called God Within, and it's a challenge work that Paul then goes back and reads back, so there's no double speak, and it's very clear. And they've entitled this clip "Humanity Will Make It." And so let's um let's watch that. It's about 9 minutes long.
When we see you before us and we understand you or comprehend you through your past experience, we understand your need to justify your acts, the choices made, the best I could do with the information I had. We understand this, yes. There is no need to justify, but there is every need to move beyond the idea of justification for prior deed or predicated acts born through an idea of history. You will end the world this way if you continue to reprimand. Now, we have always said humanity will make it, and indeed it will. Humanity has chosen to take the high road. But the aspect of self, of each and every one of you and of him, that seeks justification for prior acts. This happened to me, so I will do it now. That was my circumstance then. It entitles me to this now, is a way to circumvent the possibility of the divine self reclaiming all things. When you decide in advance what's supposed to be, from the old menu born in history, prior deed and act, you claim the things that were, once again, without intending to. Now, to understand this is to reside at a level of tone where the new is present, not ambitiously so. Let me be in this place of tone, of atonement if you prefer, simply allowing that the monad or the God within you is present in all things through its expression, including your idea of historical data. Every excuse you make for yourselves, for your fellows, are presumptuous. They are born in ideas of what was. Well, she had a hard childhood. He had a bad marriage. His father had a temper. They had no money. And you decide who people should be through their behavior, through their ways of expressing, without understanding that everything that they went through may be seen as an opportunity to learn. But even better so, does not hinder your ability to know them as they truly are. Do you understand this? To know someone as they truly are is not so much discounting their history, but realizing them beyond it, as not imprisoned by it, as not tainted by the lens that fear has claimed them in. When you do this from the upper room, you make them new, or you realize them at the level of tone where the new is possible. Underline possible. When something is possible, it can be so. When you decide something should be through your past estimation, he is like that because he was, she behaves like this because she did. In fact, you cement them in the agreement to what they were. Now, you can understand this situationally in your relations. What you don't see is how this is actually playing out on the world stage. The ideas of what people should be, how they should pray, what you should expect of them, actually contributes to all of the dilemmas you see. Now, we are not saying forget the past. That would be foolish. But to re-see the past, which is only your idea of what happened, reclaims the idea of the present, which is what is important here. We are not saying the child wasn't abused, that the family had no money, that the mother was frightened, the father had a temper. Those things occurred, yes, and indeed they shaped the ideas of self that the family members held. But to know them beyond these things is to hold them in the higher possibility, beyond reprimand, and beyond the ideas that the past should shape the future, because the past can only shape through its old ideas. Now, we have taught you the upper room in sequence. It is a tone of vibration that you acclimate to through the utilization of the prior claims. Once you are there and you remain in alignment, the prior claims are present, but in fact, they are instilled in your vibrational field. They don't need to be invoked because you have come to this place of vibrational tone where I know who I am, what I am, how I serve, I am free, actually informs your expression. It's only when you go back downstairs that the invocation is useful. From this plane of vibration, you are perceiving a world in a different oscillation. You are reclaiming what was without trying to fix things. You are renewing others through your realization of them. Now you can understand how to do this with a friend, perhaps even with an enemy. I will focus on the divine in them. I will know them as they are. At the level of the upper room, this is actually immediate, requires no work. It is simply where you land and how you embrace or experience what you have landed with. Do you understand this? The level of alignment that you may hold in the upper room reclaims what it encounters without your intention. The claim, "Behold, I make all things new," which is the monad expressed in the process of this, is the divine self claiming what is. It will be so. You are not invoking anymore at this level of vibration because the work is being done through you. You are not trying to manipulate reality or remedy a problem. You are moving to a level of tone where the idea of the problem is actually reclaimed and reknown, and then lifted to a level of vibration where it may experience itself and be in manifestation in a very different way. Because the realization of the divine self comes at the cost of the old, it must also claim all things that were seen and experienced through the false lens of separation in the higher octave. It's important to understand what we mean here. You are not erasing the past, saying there have not been atrocities, that man's inhumanity to man has not played out in horrific ways. Indeed, that has been so. But we are sad to say continues to be so today. But the realization of the monad or the God within all beings, is an act of reclamation, and, if you wish, redemption. To be redeemed is to be sown anew, seated with the divine that will express through you. It is the work we do with our students in some ways. We are not speaking as the monad, although we align at that level. The idea of the Christ or monad is a level of alignment that you may hold and move into expression with. The understanding of the being Jesus and others who have come at this level of tone to be redeemers were simply there to sow the seeds of the divine spark that was present but dormant. When the divine spark is lit, ignited, a fire or a blaze, if you wish, it actually consumes all things that it encounters. And this is the benefit. What is being made new is what is actually touched or lifted by this light, come as you, that knows itself as of God. underline as of God.
I will say welcome to all of this and to all of you this morning. Sandra led us last week, and she has offered to lead again this week, or at least get us started. So welcome to all of you. It's good to see you, and I'd like to just turn this over to Sandra.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Cindy. That was such a powerful clip. And it almost could be a discussion unto itself. So I'm just wondering if anyone has anything they want to say about that before we get into reading. I'll just say that for me, I'm just so amazed at how clearly the guides articulate through Paul what the entire purpose is. It's this invitation to us, this invitation to be made new, to see anew, to see the holiness that we talked about during the Tuesday morning class, the holiness in everything I see. It's just so amazing to me. And I'm grateful. Even what they said, the way I heard it, was even looking in the past. It's not just about making everything new now and what's to come, but to look back. Not to deny what has happened in the past, but to see it anew and to, their words, reclaim it. And I know for me personally, I can now look back at things that I used to call horrific in my childhood and in my personal experience as a young adult and a mother, and now see very clearly it's all been made new. I can see very clearly how it was a benefit, not only a benefit to me, but how it made me. It made this person, character, of more benefit to others. So, I see you nodding your head, Libby. Do you want to say something about that? Okay. So, we're reading the book Resurrection, and we're still in the introduction. We've been reading a couple of weeks, we're in the introduction. And we started the practice of asking different people to read paragraphs. So I'm going to ask in advance if there's anyone who's willing to read a paragraph, and then I'll call on them. Cindy, let me get you down. Cindy, Amy, who else? Was it Pat? Okay, and if someone else feels the urge during the meeting, then raise your hand. And we are on Roman numeral, in the introduction, Roman numeral 14, which is XIV. And last week we ended by reading the claim of the kingdom. Did anybody notice in the video clip something that I picked up on when he said, the guide said, as Paul articulated it for us, that when we go to the upper room, we don't need to make these claims anymore. It's only when we go back down the stairs. Is that what he said? Back down the steps? That was a great visual. And we've talked about that. We've talked about going in, going out. Now I can see it as going up the stairs and going back down. But when we need these claims, we need these invocations when we're in a lower tone. But once we get up and we're in the upper room, then it just flows. So I noticed that when he was speaking. But we ended last week with this claim of the kingdom. And we're at the place where it says pause, and the first paragraph under there. So Pat, will you read for us first? Yes, please.
To differentiate between Pat and Patricia.
Oh, I'm sorry, Patricia. Thank you.
Okay. May we read I think kind of refreshing ourselves with
What would you like to read, Patricia? The invocation?
the invitation is, may I read the quote first and then move on?
Of course.
Is everyone in favor of that?
Yes, we trust your intuition.
Thank you. Thank you. Each one who hears these words, each one who reads these words will be known anew in agreement to a belief in the Creator that will surpass any ideology that has been tainted by fear or cruelly superimposed upon others through force of will. All who hear these words, all who read these words, will be in rearticulation at the perfect tone, level of agreement that he or she can hold. And as this journey progresses, the song that is sung, the sound that will emit, the claim that will be made, will be the claim of the divine, come as one, come as all in resurrection. This is the end of the lecture. Okay, and it goes on. We have lots to talk about, but take a moment, Paul. The text that we are writing will be written through you with very little effort. The idea of the text is what frightens you. What will this book be? What is it named? What is its action or presence in the world? The text that we write on resurrection, which is manifestation of the divine in form, in field, in a way that manifests or claims a new world into being, will be the beginning of a series that addresses the idea of manifestation that challenges one faces as one claims the path.
Would anyone like to comment on that? What jumps out at me right away is this is the introduction to a book entitled Resurrection, and it defines resurrection right there midway through the paragraph. Resurrection, which is manifestation of the divine in form, in field, in a way that manifests or claims a new world into being. So here we are. We've had many teachers tell us we came into this world, and they all say it differently, but that there's a veil and a forgetting. And this resurrection is here right now, today, where we get to manifest the divine in form. That's so cool. We just have to realize it and believe it. So, Amy, would you like to read next?
Sure.
Could I just comment that
Yes, please.
this reminds me of how the Course in Miracles, in my mind, evolved and came into being, and how when Watzlawick, can't think of his name right now, how he came into helping Helen Schucman and Bill Tedford organize and prepare the Course in Miracles to be presented to the world. So anyway, that's what came to my mind.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. This whole book rings of the same voice as that which Helen channeled. Now, this is a path that has been walked prior, the mystic path, the path of the sage. But re-articulation, as we will teach it, is not an intellectual endeavor. It is completely experiential. Now, religiosity has informed these teachings for some, and we must say now, this is not a religious teaching, nor can it ever be. The teaching of the Christ, or the monad, or the true self, finally is a universal teaching. And while the language we use may be informed by historical meaning, our usage of the language is intended to claim you on a distinct path and a higher path than you may have known you were even on. The path of rearticulation, being made new, as we have often said, comes at the cost of the old. And the identity you have used to negotiate your reality is the first thing that you encounter when you are being made new. The idea of self as separate from the divine, so entrenched in the belief systems of yours that you claim it unknowingly. And the release of the old appears to you to be a death. What am I if I am not who I think I am? The agreement we make to you tonight is that the death that you experience is a rebirth. It is a resurrection. It is the resurrection foretold as the Christ or the monad is re-known in form. There are a couple of things in there that really got me. I loved the sentence, the identity that you have used to negotiate your reality. That is a really interesting way of putting it. And then the idea of self as separate from the divine is so entrenched in the belief systems that you claim it unknowingly. This world claims it every minute of every day.
Rick, would you like to, are you finished, Amy?
All done.
Rick?
Amy, I just have a question because in my book it says, "Who am I?" in quotes.
It does say that.
Oh, it does. Okay. Sorry, I just thought maybe I had a miswriting in my.
Now, we often intersperse what and who.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that on my part. Apologies.
Did you want to say anything else about it, Rick?
No, I just find it a very interesting read. Yeah, I'm enjoying the process, so thank you.
I don't see any hands raised. Something that jumped out at, oh, go ahead, Cindy.
I underlined the same sentence. And the identity you have used to negotiate your reality is the first thing that you encounter when you are being made new. And I just feel to state that I accept this. I am noticing this. And man, does it often feel very, very uncomfortable. And I feel to say that often in my own space out loud. predominantly because I'm choosing to stand still in it and recognizing that over and over and over again, there's something here that feels like it's continually being hit with the inconsistencies of how Cindy as a separate self has been seeing life. Like I'm continually being hit as I I can say that I've been fully immersed in the guide since November. I'm not saying I don't know what pulled me into it, but more and more, hundreds of times a day, it feels like I'm being hit with the realization that holding myself as separate with my separate problems and my separate issues is becoming, as real as it feels, is becoming harder and harder to accept as true.
Does that
And
give you
so,
joy? Do you feel joy with that? You said you feel uncomfortable.
well, it actually just came up in the dyad in a different kind of way. And I was able to communicate then that it is the strangest feeling. The body is and it still is feels very dense and very heavy and uncomfortable, right? And I can see a sense of identifying with its stories and its feelings. And I accept that, man, there's something outside of that that's holding it. And I could be really aware of that too. And I can taste and feel how quiet that is, the awareness of what the body is doing. And all of that is happening. And I also get to communicate that even though it doesn't feel personal, in the moment, and even in this moment, as I'm speaking things that I fully believe to be true, the screen of awareness is heavy. So there's joy here, but whatever the personality self is, accepts that it's here, but is currently all like it's this the identity of use to negotiate. It's like all the old stuff is currently coming up to be, he keeps calling it the smudgy window. So the what's coloring, but not as much as the mind would say, right? Because I could talk
Yes,
about it.
I totally hear you. Yes.
Right.
And
But the window is feeling very like I could see all the smudges and like the Windex is going or whatever. But I'm not the one that's cleaning the window. I'm more like the one that keeps saying, yes, open me more, yes, open me more. And that feels more like what the personality is currently being willing to do, being willing not to hold on to her smallness is one way it's coming up.
so I just want to interject that while you were speaking and first describing this, I felt a surge of joy with you and for you. And I think that's happening over and over in these meetings. We are so connected that when someone is feeling pain or sorrow, we feel it with them. When someone is feeling puzzled or whatever. And so I felt it. And it's such a beautiful gift you're given to get to do this. Exactly what you're doing.
The only other thing is like all this stuff that's coming up, and maybe this makes sense or it doesn't, even the parts that feel contracted, none of it feels personal anymore. And even in the sense of the moment where it says, but this is happening to me, I'm like, no, it's not. I'm standing as self. It could feel like it is, but there's a knowing that it's not.
Yes, yes. And I think one of the first lines in this paragraph said it all to me. I like put 3 stars by it. Right at the beginning, it says rearticulation. It's the second sentence. Rearticulation, as we teach it, is not an intellectual endeavor. It is completely experiential. And to me, that speaks to what you're feeling, it's completely experiential. If we try to just make it intellectual, we can take a course, we can give some tests, you can tell me what the book said, and that's not what this is about. It's all experiential. Now, I don't know who raised their hand next. I think it was William.
Well, I'm just noticing it is so nice that the moment starts this moment. And that means I don't have to connect the dots of what happened because it's just this moment. And I love this sense of I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that. Now, I also love it that I don't know who I am, but I know that I am. And I cannot articulate that. And that's okay. That's okay. It's this now that's doing everything through me, through us. And it just seems so easier that I don't have to rely on the words. It's just the feeling of now takes care of everything. And I love that. So I just wanted to share that because it seems like such freedom that I don't have to know who I am. I am. I am. I am. That's what seems to me so real. So
Thank you, William. Amy, did you have your hand raised or was it Patricia? Patricia.
Amy, I do believe you had your hand raised,
You put it down, which isn't allowed.
which means you'll have something to say later, I hope.
Go ahead,
Um,
Patricia.
Yes, it's like when I think of the word resurrection, the thing that occurred to me is all it is the now, coming back to the now, where I'm not connected to this or I'm not connected to that or the other thing. I am just here. And that's all there is. And that if God is in my mind or the source or the universe, that's where I can go. So the resurrection is the now. I mean, it's a question I'm living. I think it may be deeper than that, but I don't know yet because I live in the world of I don't know.
I love when you say that because you seem so free when you say that. I don't know. Amy, we love to hear from you. What were you going to add?
I was just going to say that the thing that I want to come back to is the identity you have used to negotiate your reality is the first thing that you encounter when you're being made new. And this world, as the Course tells us, is 180 degrees from the kingdom. So we all get mail delivered to Sandra or Olivia or Rick or Pat. And we open that mail and we get a bill that's addressed to us. And we take that personally and we pay that bill. And we have friends who don't see us as the oneness we are. And we address them and respond to them as they see us, as the individuals that they see us. We call ourselves mother or father or friend or employee. So this is the identity with which we negotiate this world. And it is happening all the time. And as he said here, the belief system is so entrenched that we unconsciously, unknowingly claim it. We claim it in every act we engage in this world. And so we aren't there yet. But one of the things that he's going to tell us is that we do not do the work. It is the monad who does the work.
That's right in that sentence. You are being made new.
Exactly.
There.
Are being
Are
made.
being made new. And it implies a process. So we can be patient too.
Yeah, yeah, it implies exactly what William said. Just get out of the way, right? Just be present in the moment. It's exactly what it is. No worries, be happy, right? Um, but I just wanted to point that out, right? That the world continuously draws us in. And we don't have to worry about that. Even though it does, we can notice it when we notice it, but it's doing its job, right?
Yeah, I've heard you use the phrase, the carpet rolls out, the carpet rolls back. And in this last clip, you heard you go up the steps and we come down the steps. So, but we know what to do because we're here and we know what to do and we know who we truly are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I wanted to say. Sorry. I didn't mean to.
Don't be sorry. That's why you're here. Let's see, Cindy, I think you all volunteered to read also, and we're on the next paragraph.
Thank you. Now, to know the self as of God is to understand both your sovereignty and your agreement to the self as of the whole. The monad or the Christ, the seed of God, which seeks to express as and through you, knows itself as of the whole. And the agreement we make with you is that the transit you are undertaking will benefit not only you, but all that you encounter. One of my favorite lines is next. I've heard the guide say it over and over and over again. We cannot make you holy. That's like the hair on my arms are standing up. We cannot make you holy. You already are. But you have forgotten your divinity. And while we remind you in words, we are amply aware that the only way to reach you is to know you, realize you as who and what you truly are beyond the small self's idea of what is possible. And I'd like to just say what was just shared is that the small self has to agree to this. I've heard the guides speak of it, and even the claim I read before we officially started from Awakening to Love. You have to. There is a responsibility of the small self, and that is just to give willingness, to will, to open up and allow this. But again, this last line, while we remind you in words, we are amply aware that the only way to reach you is to know you, to realize you as who and what you truly are beyond the small self's idea of what is possible. The sense of a self separate from source isn't doing this work. Can't do this work. Yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you, Cindy. Rana, good morning.
Good morning. Grateful to be here. They say that the words are picked, right, to help, and that word transit really jumps out to me. The transit you are undertaking will benefit not only you, but all. There's a movement there and a process and a patience and all of that that's been pointed to in some of the previous shares. The end of that paragraph, we are amply aware that the only way to reach you is to know you, realize you as who and what you truly are. That is what happened when I became introduced to these teachings. As I sat in gatherings like this with some of you from the very beginning, I really feel like Not that you're beyond or at a different level, but those that came before will say, saw me as what I truly am. And that encouraged me to like seek for myself about that and to put aside the belief that I couldn't be that. You know, it was an encouragement, it was hope. And then, like Cindy just pointed out, I was told that all I needed was a little willingness. And like right around the holiness lessons, I think, are those above all else lessons. And that is one of the mantras that I used in the beginning was above all else, I want to see differently. You know, but the motivation for that in the world came from gathering with others who said, you were called here. You don't just show up here by coincidence, right? There's a calling, and it refers to it as the seed of God, which seeks to express as and through you, knowing itself its whole. It already knows that this is the play. And so my willingness to be open to that allows the experience to come in instead of an intellectual fodder and thinking about it and all that. I've been pointed by you to sit and experience it. Slow down, sit still, feel it. And so that's what I feel like this paragraph is a great example of that, is what I've experienced with you, who are me. Thank you.
Yes, William, I see your hand. I want to add something to Rana's. Thank you, Rana. That really touched me. And to know that I am realized and known as who and what I truly am beyond the small self, to me, that's miraculous, even when I didn't know it myself. And what I wrote when I was reading this is that I was taught very early on, and I don't remember who taught me this, but to see the light in each person that I encounter, to look for the light. And then yesterday we were taught about the mitochondria. That's this light that's in every cell. And when I look at the light, when I come from that place, I don't know what to call it, it's not a place, but when I come from that orientation, when I come from that, everything changes. I am made new. And they are made new in that interaction. Everything is made new. It's all fresh. And all the things they talked about in the past doesn't even matter. None of it matters. All of that is let go of. And everything is new because I am seeing you and realizing you for who you truly are. And when I do that, I realize myself as well. It's not a singular thing. It's a relationship piece to it as well. Like when you look at your daughter and see her, the light in her, and you talk about it all the time. That's so inspirational. So I don't know. We are being all right in this moment, right now, here on this screen, we are all being made new. And I use those words over and over again in this book. William.
just like give an example of the transit that we never know in our sharing how that is being passed through life. For instance, talking with my son yesterday, who's dealing with his wife who has stage 4 cancer. And it occurred to me to share Pat Luboff's story yesterday of her relationship, that loving relationship she has with John, of looking in each other's eyes with such love and peace of mind. So powerful. So it brings to life the word resurrection. That it is a resurrection for my son and daughter-in-law, that the love they've always had is now coming forth full blown as the death of the identity, not knowing how long that previous identity is going to be around. And I just sat and listened for a half hour as he shared all the love and grief and pain as he's dealing with his wife and not knowing when or how. So I just wanted to say, we never know, Pat. It just really, as I said yesterday, I think it's just inspiring to see how other people resurrect, go through their own resurrection of that truth, that who we really are, that love I saw. So that's it.
How beautiful. Barbie.
Hello, everybody. I want to thank you for all your shares because I'm finally getting it. Last night, I couldn't sleep. And when I got up, I was guided to read the book. I read like 5 or 6 pages up until day 2. That was it. And then I realized that what was coming up is that I'm starting to be reborn from my old past traumas, which I call samskaras. And it's like, oh boy, I'm getting this. That's all I have to say.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Anyone else who hasn't jumped in yet would like to speak? Livy.
Oh.
No?
No, one thing that I've been noticing, especially over the past few months, is the ability that I'm being given, the opportunities that I'm being given to look at beliefs and conditioned thinking, and being able to look at them and journal about them and talk about them without feeling shame. And which helps me to honestly look at them and be able to allow them to come up and move through my body and move out. And that's been just really heart-opening and eye-opening for me, that I am being presented with the thought processes and beliefs that don't work for me anymore, you know? And for me, it's all about dying to those parts that don't work anymore and that don't serve me. They don't serve me anymore. They don't lead me anymore. And I'm really grateful to be feeling that process happening and to have such wonderful guides and people to share the process with, like this group. So just wanted to, I'm excited about this book. Yeah, this is just awesome. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah, there was something in the clip, I don't know if anybody remembers it, about don't go back and try to justify. The justification gets in the way. And I love what you just said, just let it go. Amy.
I just wondered if anybody would be okay with my continuing to read.
Not at all.
Okay. The texts we have offered thus far have indeed been a system of alignment through energetic attunement to re-know the self beyond the old template. But to come into the new template, manifest in the upper room in adherence to the agreements that align here, must in some ways be its own teaching. The world before you, you see, is in fragmentation, and the fragments themselves all hold ideas of ideas that are known through history. The release of these ideas and the history that claim them is a challenging passage, because what it means is that even the fabric of reality as you have comprehended it can and will be reknown, because what stands before you all in such a time of change is the gift of change, the new, and the release of the old, the passing of the old, which cannot be held in the higher octave of alignment that you have now come to.
Yeah.
The splintering of reality, the factioning you see, is actually the product of fear. Fear would always tell you to fear your brother, fear God, fear yourselves. The action of fear is to claim more fear. And in a world in fear, and a world in fear is a world at war with itself. But you cannot lift to the light without this passage. You cannot deny your creations, those things that have been hewn in fear, recreated, made so from a template of fear. Now, what is fear but the denial of the divine and the claim we offer you? Behold, I make all things new. Will claim fear and lift it to the high octave of the upper room, where it may no longer be enacted upon. The attunements we will be giving you, some old and some new, all ways of renegotiating the self that you have known as it embarks on this journey, and reclaiming the world that you are in an encounter to and with through the alignment you now hold. Understand, we said, now hold. The gift of these teachings has and always will be a reclamation of the energetic field through attunement in the high octave, where you may begin to know the self anew. The transition you, one after the next, they transition you, one after the next, to an alignment you have not held prior.
Do you want to say anything about that before I call on Cindy?
I'm sure Cindy will say whatever it was that I wanted to say, so I've said enough. There's a lot in there.
There is. I love the way you emphasize certain things with your reading. Cindy.
There may be a lot in there, but I was only going to focus on one thing very specifically. The action of fear is to claim more fear. What if this is the and chills again? You can't see my, but literally the hair on my arms just go ping. There are some things that show silly things that have to do with paying for car repairs and shit that still activate. Oh, Richard must not be paying attention. Hear his name, but you're supposed to laugh when I say car. There you go. There are things here that seem to activate an old response of fear, and it fills me. I had an experience last week that didn't have anything to do with cars, right? It's the history that's coming up. And as in a simple statement like the action of fear is to claim more fear, there's a desire here to just drop it into my awareness in a way that I never, like I could use it as far as, oh, look at this is fear. Do I want to claim more fear in this moment? Or would I prefer, because the other thing they say often is what you bless blesses you in return. And we are doing the holiness lessons this week. So like, oh, chills again. Like, what if Cindy did nothing else for the next X number of years, but every time the feeling of fear arose, there was a clear statement that said what you fear, the action of fear is to claim more fear. Do I want to claim more fear? No. What you bless blesses you in return. What if I want more blessings? And I say something like, my mind is very holy, you know, or my holiness blesses this fear, or I am word through this experience of fear. What if I can make that the habit? That's what was coming up here, like looking for the simple things. What if I create a new habit every time I see fear? I keep saying it out loud because I'm attempting to instill this in this conscious. Every time the experience of fear comes up, I remember that if I feed that fear, I claim more fear for myself and the world I'm in. And what I bless blesses me and the world I'm in return. I am, you know, my holiness blesses this fear. My holiness blesses this experience of fear. I am word through this fear. What you bless blesses you in return. Like that to me is like, wow, it's something that the little self can do. And she's very excited. Yay! Where's that fear happening? I want to bless it. Anyway, that's what came up.
I have this memory of something that happened. I used to have something that I read about it in a magazine. I was reading a magazine in a doctor's office, and there was this thing about catastrophic thinking. And I totally related to it. Catastrophic thinking is you think something comes in, there's a fear, and then you go into that story, and then you feed that story, and you then feel all the emotions and all the bodily feelings that you would feel if that actually happened. And I think that, was it Zach Bush last year? He was talking about that with feelings and emotions. And through this work, catastrophic thinking gradually, ever so gradually went away, and it changed into something beautiful, miraculous thinking. Miraculous thinking. Which is, instead of expecting the awful to happen, I started expecting the beautiful to happen. And not with a story, not making something up to turn something around, just allowing it and knowing that life is quite beautiful. And it would unfold in a way that was for me. William.
I hear the catastrophizing. I used to use the word awfulizing because it would seem more immediate to me. But what I also see is that it's allowing the samskaras to, and it's almost welcoming fear to bring up more fear, to allow it to let go. So I'm just seeing the other side. It feels like the other side of that coin. Instead of changing the awfulizing, it's just not being afraid of even that, and just allowing fear to dissipate on its own. Somehow that phrase, I will make all things new and lift it to the higher room. Oh, maybe I don't even have to do anything. I
Yeah, I
just
think
get
that's,
out of the way.
I think that's what Cindy was saying, blessing the fear. Do you want to respond to that, Cindy, before I call on Patricia?
Just, I do have a response. I've been noticing as I'm aware, and it tastes really different. There is the fear that it feels old and ancient, that is in like the cell, like if you want to believe in form, there is fear that keeps this form intact, that is old and ancient, and it comes up and it invites me to to feed it with a present day story. And then there's the fear that the thinking mind is creating. And when there's fear that the thinking mind is creating, that to me is catastrophizing. And I've watched the thinking mind activate a fear that then creates a different chemistry in my body. And that fear, I'd like, no, I'm not interested in listening to the mind anymore. And it just stops. I've watched it respond. And that to me is a very different sense than allowing the ancient fear, which the guides have taught me has been part of the human condition since day one. It's, you know, humanity was created on this, let's see what it feels like to be separate. And separation requires a denial of the divine. And wherever you're denying the divine, there's fear. That's the ancient stuff that holds this space. And when that comes up, welcoming it and blessing it and embracing it with the love, like you were talking about, is the practice. So I'm not discounting that there's fear here. And I'm not asking it to hide. That's suppression. I want it to come up. It just feels so different than the fear, the new baby fears that the mind generates. So that's what I wanted. That's been my experience.
So perfect, perfect explanation. Somebody help me. Who was next? Was it Patricia?
Yeah, I think that what Cindy was saying, that fear is so ancient, and the ancientness in me is the ancientness in my mother and my father that instilled the fears. So, be that as it may, fear, when I get stuck in fear, it's better now. I think about it, it's like, what is the worst thing that can happen? Oh my God, this will happen, and blah, 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 and the story, it's a marvelous story. But then I go, what's the best thing that can happen in this marvelous story? It's fantastical. And then probably something right in the middle where is, I don't know, I'll deal with it when it happens. So I just wanted to share that as a process because it does help if when fear gets in the way, the worst and the best, and then into I don't know. I guess I'll deal with it. I'm capable of dealing with it because I've dealt with all the fear in the past. So why not now?
Thank you, Patricia. Amy.
I will be very quick. The catastrophic thinking is what what an old teacher used to call putting your foot on the head of the monster. And so I will think about the worst that can happen, and that way I'm prepared when it does happen, right? I put my foot on the head of the monster. A Course in Miracles talks about this in chapter 5 very, very well. It is, as Cindy said, an ancient, ancient fear, and it's the fear of God. And it's the fear that we have truly turned our backs on God and that we have truly separated. And so what we do is we punish ourselves. The ego says, okay, I've already taken God's authority, but somewhere way deep down, this ancient fear, I know God's coming after me because I left or I tried to leave. And so I'm going to punish myself and set up all kinds of punishment situations for myself in this reality so that I punish myself before God gets to me. And that's what I love about the psychoanalytic stuff in A Course in Miracles. It goes really deep. And Cindy's right. This is an ancient, ancient, ancient fear. And you can't bypass it. So, sorry to be so strident about it, but putting your foot on the head of the monster comes up a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah, the last sentence of what you read, would you read that again for us? Because that, to me, is the hope, is the beauty.
Mhm.
Starts with the gift.
The gift of these teachings has and always will be a reclamation of the energetic field through attunement in the high octave, where you may begin to know the self anew. They transition you, one after the next, to an alignment that you have not held prior. They transition you to an alignment you have not held prior.
And you begin to notice it happening.
Yeah.
Just as Cindy was describing to us, noticing how she's responding differently.
Yep. Yeah.
So we still have some time. Who would like to read next? Anybody new want to read? Oh, before we do that, Richard. So nice to see you, Richard.
Good morning, everyone. Love you all. I really enjoy these talks, but I always bring me back to the Course in Miracles for some reason, I guess. So what I hear the guy saying in this particular paragraph we're reading is, once we become aware that we're not the body mind we're experiencing, the world is not real, we are beginning our journey. They call us something else. And part of that journey is healing of the belief and our concepts in our mind. And so as we raise our tone or vibration, or go into our upper room, what I perceive that to be the same as the right mind and the ego. And so when we're in the upper room, you're in the right mind. And you don't need to do anything. You need to do nothing, as the Course said. Because if you stay in the right mind, the Spirit will guide you. Everything you think, say, and do will be guided. Now, so it's only when you choose the ego, choose fear, for example, and choose to experience fear, that you drop back into the ego thought system. The other thing I like about the Course is some teachers talk about there's two strips. So we're talking about perception here. How do you perceive the world? How do you perceive your experiences in the world? And if you choose the ego strip, then you see a world that is full of fear, sin, and guilt. But if you choose the ego, the Holy Spirit strip, you will find the world is repurposed. The Holy Spirit repurposes the world and your perception of the world to be of love, peace, and joy. And so that, I think, is what they're saying, at least to me. So when you're in the upper room, you're in the right mind. And you're staying in the right mind, and your life flows. Things happen, you let them happen, you don't judge them. So that's all I wanted to add. Love you all.
Thank you, Richard. We love you too. When you started talking about the Course in Miracles, I just had this thought of, the very beginning where there are all these, they're not rules, what are they called? all the like 30 different statements about miracles.
Miracle principles.
Yes. And that's why I said my thinking has changed to miraculous thinking, because I don't think we use the word miracle very much when we talk about the Course in Miracles. And maybe it's just a miracle to the separate self. That's what it is. But there's something about that word that it means that that I can be changed and the world I see can be changed, not changed, perceived in a miraculous way. And I can walk around and live my days like that. I get to do that. The guides call it the upper room. And what do I need in order to be able to do that? Well, Cindy told me and Rana just told me all I need is a little willingness to be open to that. And then if I'm not climbing that ladder, it's being climbed for me. Or something's pulling me up. And to me, that is just, I feel like I overused the word amazing. It's like, I want to go, it's effing crazy. It's just absolutely out of this world thinking that I have been the opposite, as Amy said, 180 degrees different than what I thought before. Cindy.
Just know what's next in the book, and we only have a few minutes left. And I would, even if we begin again from this point on, I would love for myself or somebody to read through the claims, just because it's a great way to end this hour. If you'd like me to, if that works.
Rick,
Unless you would like to, Sandra.
I just had the inspiration to ask Rick, and he can say no if he wants to. Would you like to read the claim?
Well, just read these paragraphs through the claims that are on the next page.
Okay. How do you feel about that, Rick?
Sure. Where do I find those?
Well, you would just read where you stand today, and you would continue to read that paragraph, the next paragraph, and right on the next page till it says day 2 is the claims. Yeah, so.
Oh, okay. All right. I will. Yes.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Where you stand today before us, yes, is in awareness of your potential, even the supposition of it. But where we will take you, as we are allowed to teach as we wish, is to the mandate of the divine. It will be so. God is, God is, God is. The recreation of the body to be sung in a higher tone. The reclamation of the energetic field to receive you in your true sovereignty, in the awareness of what you do, how you be, how you enact this in agreement to your fellows, which we will call service. Will be present here, but from the perspective of the upper room. For the new student, we will say this to you. We teach in a one-room schoolhouse. Every student is met where he or she sits. And the agreement we make to you tonight is not only will you be met, you will be known. And to be known is to be realized. As we sing you into presence, which is what we will now do, we will call you forth before us. And as we witness you each, the fields that you hold, inclusive of the mask you have taken to know yourself in these lifetimes, we will release you from the idea of self that has stood in the way of the divine as you receiving itself in agreement to its mastery. The divine as you know, the divine as knows who he is. knows what she is, knows what she serves, and its liberation, its full expression, its resurrection is the song we sing to you now. You may say this after us if you wish. Do I stop there?
Okay, Cindy, why don't you read this part? Thank you, Rick.
Honestly.
And if everybody wants to repeat, say this out loud, there's some real value in it. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. I am free. I am free. I am free. I am in the upper room. I have come. I have come. I have come. It will be so. Behold, I make all things new. God is. God is. God is. We say your names now, one and all, and the sound we make is inclusive of each of your names. You are all being sung to, called forward, and seen. You may join the sound we make if it is your wish. So we sing together in agreement of your being on the count of three, Paul. 1, now 2, now 3. We know who you are in truth. We know what you are in truth. We know how you serve in truth. You are free. You are free. You are free. Period. Period. Period.
Thank you, everyone.